Hello. This watch has been driving me bonkers today. I don't know whether it's just that I'm not as good as I thought I was, or I've lost my touch, or it's just more difficult than I thought it would be. But I put in a few hours today, made some progress, but it wasn't all plain sailing. Here I'm just cutting these end pieces out so that they can be soldered in place, and I want them to slot into each other nice and tightly so that will help me get good joins on them. And this took a bit of adjustment, and the holes I cut aren't as precise as I would have liked, but they do go on. And it probably would have been better if I was using 2mm thick material instead of 1mm thick. Then I wouldn't have to have two pieces, so I cut out two separately. I'm just shaving away a bit of solder that didn't go well there. I'm using two pieces, which offers some advantages because it means that the 9-carat pieces actually sit inside. There's more surface to solder, but the solder hasn't really flooded between the two pieces as I would have liked, so it can be seen that there's two pieces. Not very clever, to be honest. Here I'm just cutting out the second pieces. The first ones go on fine. The second ones, I need to basically duplicate the first ones. I thought that the way to do that would be to place them on top of each other and use a scriber to mark out the shape of the holes, which is what I'm doing here. Making sure that everything scratched is going to be taken away. This worked fairly successfully. Didn't take me too much adjustments to get the holes in the correct places and it all fitting together. Just drilling out and then cutting out with my fret saw like I did the first time. The reason that this was frustrating today was because every time I tried to solder something else moved. Here I'm just using a Sharpie just to mark off what's excess, and I'll file it back. There's going to be a lot of cleaning up. Everything's not perfectly. I've left extra meat on the metal, which needs to be taken back because it's better that you've got too much metal than not enough, generally speaking. But I've taken it back roughly, so it's not far out, and as I was saying, the lugs, I soldered those bars in between the lugs, keeping them a strap's width apart. Thought that was a good idea. I ended up approaching the watch with the other ends of the lugs, so that I'm using a U-shaped piece that I'm attaching, and then I'm cutting the middle of the U out. This was something I did earlier in one of the pieces. You saw that I kept the two pieces connected because it made it easier for me to manipulate them. But as I was soldering in those lugs, they moved, and it meant that both of the lugs were out of position, not just one. So I had to unsolder them, which basically means attach a spring tweezers to one half and suspend it in the air and heat it up and let the weight of the spring tweezers pull them to pieces. You see what I'm doing here is trying to get the lugs to sit tightly in the end piece. And I soldered these in first. I could have gone about this in many different ways, and I don't think I was really thinking too clearly today, because perhaps the order that I assembled this could have been better. And I did mean to lay on kind of shoulders, but I'm not sure I'm going to do that now, simply because I don't really want to solder anymore. I went from hard solder through to easy solder, so now these end pieces, everything's covered in easy solder. So if I solder little shoulders on, I'm sure I'm going to run the other solder again, and maybe things will move around. So not going to do that. This is where things started to go wrong. These solder joins here, one of them soldered perfectly, and the other one, as soon as it got hot, it moved, and I had to try and resolder it many different times. Anyway, that's what I ended up with. The good news is that the crown actually fits inside the case. I don't need to use anything that I'm fabricating myself. This is all still rough. It all still needs filing up. The lugs need to be made the same length. Unfortunately, this end's got a little tiny bit of play in it, which is rather irritating. I'm not sure, maybe when the top's on, that won't be able to wriggle around at all, because it will stop any movement. If not, maybe I'll end up soldering this end in permanently, because it doesn't have any reason that end needs to come out, unlike the other end. Anyway, thanks for watching.